Okay, back to round 4.
Where we see Felix playing against Sheoldred.
Yes, so I brought my homebrew Thrasios Bruse to this tournament. I was a bit frustrated of the mid-range plan in Tymna Thrasios, so and I really liked the color combination without black, so I thought about why not putting something like this together. It has a couple of cool cards like Omnath, Flage. What else you can play? Morlock and things like this.
Minsc and Boo.
Minsc and Boo. How could I forget
It's
about? Yeah,
some very powerful cards alongside a second commander that you actually want to cast sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes the mono red matchup much better. It makes probably the
also the Yoshi matchup, because
the Yoshi matchup much better.
Yeah, I mean Yoshi is a matchup in which most often you just try to combo because it's faster than by trying to win with the mid range plan.
But if they start removing your dorks,
Exactly.
sometimes you have a creature in play, and then you just cast your Bruse. The aggro player is not expecting it at all, and then you just swing out with. If it's a 3/3, that's already good. You've gained 6 life, and yeah, so it's a very powerful line to have access to, and most of the time it's not expected.
Yep.
Because that's also a very strong factor of playing a deck like this at a tournament, is that most opponents are seeing it for the first time. They think, okay, Thrasios Bruse, what exactly is he playing? Okay, we see some dorks. Does that mean he's combo? Or you go the other way and then you curve out with the initiative and stuff like that, and then they think, okay, am I not expecting combo? So there's that kind of a very good tournament advantage of bringing a new list that a lot of players don't know yet.
Yep. Yeah, and many players actually expected me to have like a full combo variant just with a red splash instead of a black splash, which is true, but there is the chance of playing Bruse, and in some situations this really caught my opponent off guard. And here we see a Cruel Claw Seized. It's a new 2-mana exile spell from Bloomburrow. Quite a good card. You can give your opponent a card, so he draws an additional card, and then you can exile one of those non-land cards, and you can play them at any time. You may spend mana.
Yep.
As you wish. So my plan here, I have not practiced against MBC. Usually it's quite a difficult matchup because your opponent has lots of disruption for your creatures. They also have hand disruption, and it's quite difficult to get on board. So the easiest way to get a lead here is by playing some emblems, which was the plan with the Bellsjeller. Unfortunately, that's what he exiled. So now I have to think about what exactly I go for. The Thrasios went into the graveyard, and I still decided to that was my plan prior to the Thoughtseize, that I go for the White Plume turn 3. And even if my opponent has an interaction for Thrasios, I have the helping hand to get it back and still proceed my line.
Yep.
Which is a bit mediocre, knowing that my opponent has the option to play Bellsjeller next turn. But I thought, well, then White Plume might be gone. And if I can keep spamming creatures to not let them get the initiative back, then I might find a window to even get Monarch myself and get back to White Plume also. Yep. But it's a difficult matchup. Like you have to be, you don't have to be fast, but you know, like Sheoldred on field is very uncomfortable. And also because it blocks one of your 2 combos, since once you have infinite mana with Devoted Druid, Thrasios actually draws cards.
Yep. Another aspect I'm not. Do you know what your thoughts were when putting Thrasios in the graveyard for the second time there?
Yeah, that was I have a pre-war formalware in hand, and I thought,
Okay.
and now my opponent has a Hymn to Torok, which is painful, very painful, and now the pre-war
Yep.
formalware goes into the graveyard because I thought, okay, I just have to make sure to get as many creatures onto the board as possible. Would have also, I mean, the Court of Calling is currently not doing that much. I was happy that he preferred that play over playing the Palace Jailer. At the same time, it's very, very bad that Turok has protection from white, so I
Yep.
cannot block with the white plume, and I cannot really attack either. So yeah, that's a bit difficult. And now my Thrasios is in graveyard. I cannot cast Bruse. Very painful situation.
Yep. It's one of those games where the opponent's cards line up really well. He managed to have two removals, which he managed to deploy very mana efficiently.
Yep.
And then
So I took the right path to scry 2. Have a look at my top cards. Also, my Court of Calling is currently offline since I only have one green source. I drew another fetch land. I have a shifting woodland in hand. So at that point, I was already thinking about, okay, maybe I can find a line, because Helping Hand and Pre-War Formalware are my only two reanimation spells. I also play Endurance and the Raccoon to exile Thrasios. But you have to find the cards first. So I thought maybe I can find a window, since I have Delirium active. Maybe I can find a window to make infinite mana and then copy Thrasios from the graveyard with the Delirium land, which is something I've never done, but it would work if I have the time to develop that. And here comes the play that was expected. Palace Jailer exiling my white plume.
he attacked with the Turok and didn't. Oh no! Now he's looking for a swamp. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, it was. You also took part in tuning the deck a bit. I really liked your idea of having Mockingbird for a ranger find.
Yeah.
So obviously for the nomad, the deck includes Ranger of Captain Eos, and usually you also have a mother and a couple of dorks that you could find. Prior to the tournament, I tinkered a bit with Tamiyo, which was also a cool find, but Tamiyo was in the end too slow in my opinion, and Mockingbird is a very nice suggestion. It actually won me an entire game.
Nice.
Yeah, I copied a Canker Bloom, which had flying, and my opponent was in a situation in which he could not attack for like one turn, I think, and then dealt like 12 damage, which was pretty insane. Board looks very good for my opponent.
Yes, he's attacking for 8 this turn, and for
there's
more
a
the
Cabal
next.
Coffers that's insanely painful, because it means there's even more value coming from my opponent.
He has 2 mana open with lots of cards in hand, and he's finding another card with a Monarch trigger at the end. You have the ability to win the game, right? Because you can.
I do. So I have
Court
the
of
court
Calling.
end of turn, finding my Devoted Druid. Unfortunately, I fall for an insane blunder because I search my Devoted Druid, and in my upkeep, I tap my mana incorrectly. So here's the Worldly, and then I can search for the Vizier. And I thought, okay, he has 2 mana. Thrasios is in the graveyard. Can't be that much. Maybe Cling to Dust. But I didn't really think about Cling to Dust. So I tapped my mana completely wrong for this one. I should have left blue open. Instead, I tapped my Volcanic Island and a white source in order to cast the Vizier. And then, as I said, I have the green mana to copy my Thrasios. But my opponent actually has a Cling to Dust to get rid of Thrasios, and I cannot recast him from the command zone. And that left me really salty, to be honest, because that was a mistake that I could have avoided easily.
Okay, just for the future, you had infinite green mana, right?
Yes.
You could have just activated the woodland again.
I could also just put it on the stack again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
in response to the
it's
cling.
still okay. It was then I even fucked it up like quadruple times. But like tapping the wrong mana was already bad, but this was even worse. And then I realized, okay, this was really, really bad. And it was super salty. And I was like, okay, good. Now I have to win 2 more games in order to proceed here. Yeah. So that was quite frustrating at that point, to be honest. But it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I watched Brian Cook, the guy that does the Epic Storm on YouTube. You might know him. He was playing at the Eternal Weekend with Vintage, with Doomsday, and the opponent had a Lavinia on field, which says that the opponent cannot cast non-creature spells greater than the amount of lands you control. And he was casting with 2 lands and a Mox. He was casting a Dark Ritual into Doomsday, which led to a lose because he got rid of the Dark Ritual for no reason.
Yep.
And he was also super tilted about that. But yeah, it happens.
Yep. Happens to the best of us.
Sometimes you just tunnel vision so badly on some sequences. And yeah, this was really frustrating. But it's how it is how it is. And here it seems I had another mulligan. So the previous game already had a mulligan to 6. This one also had a mulligan to 6, I think. My opponent kindly asked which he was actually a very nice guy, by the way, which ways of comboing I included in my deck. And I said, well, maybe I get to show you. We will we'll delay that to a later point.
Yep.
I've played against a aerok in the first round and I lost it 1-2. This was also, my opponent had like the first game I was winning with Bruse because he didn't expect me to cast Bruse actually. And then I grinded out the game and he couldn't find his combo pieces. Second game, he comboed me quickly. And the third game was rather grindy, but he had like the perfect hand because Aerok, in order to work, you ideally want to have like some discard spells to check what's going on your opponent's hand. Then you want some of those Urza's Incubators, Relic of Legends, whatsoever, to produce infinite mana to cast Aerok all over again. And that's what he had. Like he had like 2 tutors. And in the end, I think he just searched, like he had the Incubator and the Relic of Legends. No, it was Heartless Summoning actually, which does the same in this case. And yeah, it felt quite difficult. Like your opponent is taking all your resources and then they get to combo next turn is a very uncomfortable feeling, to be honest.
Definitely.
So yeah, turn 1 Mother.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's difficult to assess when you play against the deck once at a tournament or something like that, how good it actually is. Because sometimes you have those lines where it's basically unbeatable.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on in this game, but you know, you have a Mother of Runes and a Swift.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that exact line of play because my opponent was playing the cutdown end of turn. And then now the Mother is tapped. So now there's the time to actually get rid of Mother, but instead he chose to play the Cruel Cross East again. And he can decide to get rid of the Swift to deny 1 combo, because Spellseeker could actually find a Neoform next turn. Instead, he decides to take the Spellseeker, which is an interesting decision regarding the fact that I have Felia on board. So he can cast Spellseeker next turn and find a Demonic Tutor mostly.
Yep.
But then I can flicker it back and I get a tutor too. So I think.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think when you play these cards, did you draw a card based on from that?
Yes, I did.
Brew
Yes, I
Clause
did.
Heist? Okay.
Yes, I did. And it was not a Spellseeker. I think it
Okay.
was the
Solitude?
the Solitude.
the
yes.
land?
Yeah, the Solitude.
Okay.
The Solitude.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like you've made your opponent draw a card, and you then don't want to find a card that doesn't really help you.
Yeah.
So he wants to play the Spellseeker so that he has a line to find a Cabal Coffers, to find an Urborg. Ooh. Yeah, so you attack with Ophelia, you flicker Thrasios to give another counter to the Ophelia. And now we are back to what we were at. He does have a third land. Yeah, so what I was saying is with a Cruel Cause Heist, I think that card can sometimes be a trap where you think, okay, the card that I'm taking is definitely going to be the card that I always want to cast that card as well, when sometimes it's better to take a different card that might be the win. But then again, I think I played against this player as well, if I remember correctly, and he was a bit new. He had to read a couple of cards, and playing against a combo deck as a player like that, where you don't know that Swift Reconstruction isn't just a 1-mana Swords to Plowshares, but it's also a 1-mana make infinite mana with Devoted Druid card, where that's an interaction that you don't instantly see when you look at the card, right?
That is correct. And also with Felia on board, the only target that could make sense, and then like the Swift with Mother in combination doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because again, just give protection. Like you can just use it as a not only to interrupt my combo, but also to make one of my creatures useless. But then there's Thrasios, which keeps the abilities. Thalia, you cannot really target because of Mother. If you find a way to attach it to some of the creatures that I play, circumventing my Mother, then I still have Thalia to just flicker the creature and it falls off, and then I have the creature back. So
or you can just flicker the Swift onto something that the opponent controls as well.
Also that, yes.
With
I can even flicker the Swift, exactly, yeah. So it's even if you know about the combo, it's maybe not like your primary choice.
Yep.
And
then taking the Solitude might be a bit slow. So there's a lot of things. It's a very difficult Cruel Clause Heist there.
Yeah.
And it probably would have been the best to just not cast the Spellseeker. Considering
I think so too.
Or waiting to cast the Spellseeker until you find a board wipe to handle Ophelia and Mother of Runes, but sometimes you don't have that luxury.
That is correct. So now I can think about going for my Neoform line, for example. I'm actually not sure. I think I just searched for Eladamri's Call because I still have the mana open. And yeah, I have a couple of creatures on board. Even if my opponent has a toxic whatsoever, I can find a White Plume end of turn, for example, and then start grinding the game out with the initiative. I also have a Solitude in hand, a Lanoa, Elves. The Swift is still in hand. We know about the Swift, and there's a toxic actually. So yeah, it seems. I think you were actually right. My opponent did not know about all the Devoted Druid combos. I think he knew about the Vizier, but he didn't knew about the Swift. So now I have the Swift in hand. I can search for Devoted, and next turn I just have the infinite green mana.
With a land, it's clean. Is there a land coming?
I think it was not. Yeah. I'm just a lucky bastard. And now everyone knows the combination. I have infinite green mana, and I cast my commander. Then I think I showed him the finale. And that's it. And then we go over to game 3, which he was on the play again. So another match that I have to win in order to win the entire... Another game that I have to win to win the match. So yeah, Toxic, very well timed. If it wasn't for the land drop, might have been difficult.
Yep.
But I was lucky. Maybe not. Some people might say not granted after I did this huge mistake in game 1.
That's something that
yeah.
The way that he sequenced his Bajuka Bog is a trap that I've seen. I feel like I've seen some people fall into this trap, and I don't really think it's correct. Where they know that something's going to be in graveyard, and they wait for that to be in the graveyard to play their Bajuka Bog, even if they're missing a land drop sometimes.
Okay. I think it was rather... I'm not sure if he did it intentionally. Like maybe it was just the 4th land drop.
Maybe it was just the fourth land drop, but
like,
he waited like 2 turns.
Did he have Bajuka Bog in a starting hand? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. But
okay.
But my thought process, I don't know if that's what happened. I didn't quite catch if that's what happened. But if it is, waiting to play, like not making a land drop instead of waiting to get better value on your Bajuka Bog, I think is incorrect most of the time. There are some situations where maybe, but especially in this case where Felix didn't have a combo piece on board, he just had a regular board, and he has a couple of cards in his deck that allow him to get creatures back from the graveyard. Oh, okay. Jet Medallion is probably
a worthy target for my prismatic ending.
Yep. Probably the best start that these decks can have, and
definitely.
You managed to counter it effectively.
Yes. I have to. Otherwise, next turn, Sheoldred is waiting. You have so many efficient plays if that card sticks to the field.
Yep.
I'm not super sure what was my lineup here. Okay, now there's an Agonizing Remorse, so we get to see my hand. 3 lands, an Enlightened Tutor, and a Failure. He saw what Failure is capable of last game. And yeah, since there is no support for Failure right now, he decided to get rid of the tutor instead, which is a perfectly fine decision. And now I drew a 6. That's a pretty good card, I have to say. So, definitely casting 6 in on curve. Even better with Mother of Runes on board. And there is the black Invasion? No, it's not called Invasion. I'm not entirely sure how the card was called, but I think it's he draws cards and loses life, something like this.
Wait, I will check. Inscription of Ruin.
Oh no, I discard 2 cards. I discarded 2 land cards. Never mind.
Yes, target opponent discards 2 cards for 3 mana, and you can kicker it. Also returns a creature with CMC 2 or less, and destroys a creature with CMC 3 or less.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is a card that you have in your deck because you're playing Cabal Coffers.
Yeah, true.
I think most of the times it wouldn't make the cut, but you want to have a couple of cards in your deck that give you much more upside when you are producing a lot of mana, and cards like Throne of Eldraine and Jet Medallion and Cabal
So-
coffers
Yeah,
make that much
yeah.
better.
Just to have some fuel for all the mana. He played a Mind Twist for 1, not the best Mind Twist, and I have an Endurance to flash in. Now I have 5 power on board, which is not too bad. 6 milled Teferi, Keen-Eyed Curator, and a land, and I took the land. And I thought about changing the land for Teferi, but with nothing on board on his side, I thought, okay, maybe I just delay that play and play the Endurance and get some pressure onto the board instead.
And 6 and Mother is a great combo against these kind of decks.
Yeah.
Where they discard you. You usually keep your lands in hand, and you can now attack, find a land with 6, and discard it to recast it to Fairy, and then you are in Value Town. You have some insulation against board wipes.
Right, yeah. And I think I drew an Intuition, but instead now I go for the line that I wanted to do earlier.
Yep. You bounce with
Getting
no
into
target.
Fairy, and I want to get more mana onto the board. And yeah, as long as 6 sticks to the battlefield, I definitely find my ways to recast all the spells from graveyard. Would have been better to have a target with Teferi. Maybe you could also argue not to go for Teferi now, just playing the land instead and waiting for your opponent to cast Sheoldred so you can bounce her next turn to grant you another combat step. Here my opponent played Sign in Blood in order to find the 4th land drop finally. So also a bit unfortunate on his side.
Yep. Yeah, so that's also what that kind of game plan can look like. You discard 2 cards from the opponent, and you draw 2 cards yourself. That's all the mana you've spent that game, and then you just lose.
Yeah.
Right? Because you haven't really done much. You've just cast creatures and attacked.
Yeah.
Um,
and here I have Intuition and the Ranger, and I can just go for the Ranger and sack it next turn.
Yep.
Find myself any 1-drop. I think I even went for the Mockingbird. And then this way I prevent my opponent from casting any board wipes next turn. So he could have some instant speed interaction, but he would need 2 instant speed interactions against both my creatures.
No, because you have a Teferi on board.
That is also correct. So yeah, doesn't.
So he can't do anything until it's his turn, and then he can't do anything during his turn.
Exactly.
So
maybe I was also explaining that
pretty
to
good.
him.
Pretty good lock.
That's true. I mean, and next turn, if I draw another land, even if he gets some life or whatsoever, he can still. I can just still recast the Ranger and just do it again, as long as I have a land.
Also, if you just attack with, wait, when did you?
I sacked it in his upkeep.
Yeah, he just hadn't untapped yet.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to cast Sheoldred, right?
Yeah, exactly, because there's no other play available. Then could even copy Sheoldred here. I was not sure. I mean, there are a couple of options here.
You can cast Bruse and give protection to.
That's what I did. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, protection for the Endurance, and then swing in for 6, and that's the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, was a cool one. There will be another match in the quarterfinals where I played against Slamfoot. I posted my list on the Piquet, but I will also put it down in the description if you're interested. And yeah, it was. I think I wrote something on that. Doesn't matter. Sorry for the misplay in game 1. Apparently, no one saw that game on the live coverage because something was wrong with the camera. Maybe those were the errors we had here right now. But well.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, sometimes you make those mistakes. There's the important thing is not letting it tilt you out of the tournament. Only letting it, each game is their own thing, and
yeah, that's true. You always have to reset your mind, and in the end, winning this game really helped with me not being super salty, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a mistake I learned from. Okay. That being said, thanks for tuning in and see you in round 5.
And see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.